Hello, photographers. Let's talk about editing these water balloons shots. All right, so hopefully you've got one of the shots that the water balloon is popped and you still have the structure of the shape of the water balloon. I pulled a few of these from your folders. Thank you, Becca, David, and Reeve, I believe, for your photos. We're going to use these as a bit of a demo to talk about the edit. Now, some of the edit can happen in Lightroom. A lot of the edit can happen in Lightroom. On occasion, you might want to go into Photoshop for some of that, and I'll show you um, the the possibilities here. So here is our first shot. Okay, taken by Becca. All right, so this shot here is already nicely cropped in pretty tight, which is great. I'm going to show you a couple things that you can play with. One of the things that we're going to play with this edit is actually masking. All right, now this is a complex subject. The masking will occasionally be glitchy. But we've got this in focus water, so let's give it a try. So the masking panel is on the right hand side, this one right underneath the band-aid, all right? So this one with this circle, and it gives us the option to create a mask, all right? So when you create a mask, that means that you're going to select a certain area, all right? So you can see it like selecting the background, selecting the sky. Sometimes that's really helpful, or selecting the subject, okay? So I want to darken the background a little bit to bring some more contrast. So I'm going to try to mask the background. Let's see what happens, all right? This uses, I don't know, AI or something, and to do it. So let's see how it works, okay? Not bad. It's not perfect, all right? It didn't mask out the hands, which are also part, I would say, part of the subject, but it does mask and leaves the subject of the actual water balloon intact. So I'm going to just leave that. I'm going to play with that, okay? So what I want to do is with that mask in place, all right? So the edits that I'm now going to do are only going to affect the background. So I'm going to take my exposure slider and darken my exposure slider a little bit and see what happens. Okay, I get, I don't want to go over the top because that looks fake, obviously, especially because the hands are right there, but just a little bit. I get a bit more contrast and we brings our attention to our focal point just a little bit more. So here is before and here is after. Okay, so there's one option for bringing some contrast in there. Let's move on to another photo. All right, this is a shot by David. I pulled it from his folder. I'm not sure if it's already edited. It looks quite edited, which it looks great actually, just as is. We've got a nice dark background and whatnot. The only thing I might consider for this edit would be a crop. And so depending on where you were shooting from with the photo shoot, cropping is going to be your friend, all right? Because you want to really bring it in tight. Um, I've got this like distracting little white area in the top corner, so I might just crop it down a little bit so I get a totally clean shot here like that, and double click to bring that in. Another option could be, if I wanted to, I think this looks great, all right? So you've got a neutral black background and it's super clear, and this could be good as is. If you wanted to, I'm going to show you one other thing with the uh, with this crop. You could turn your aspect ratio on its head. Okay, so if you wanted to, if I click this arrow, this box and the arrow right there, it flips it. Okay, so if you wanted to go like that, you could be really, really close as another crop option. Okay, so crop down, eliminate. You want not very much background. You want a centered in on the action. Okay, so there's one. This one here, this one is um, by Reeve, and shows a really cool moment. Now you can see where the sun was hitting in the shadow. It's not quite as dark in the background. We also have like a lot going on in this shot. So this one we could try to mask out in Lightroom. However, I think it would be better to give it a try in Photoshop. So I'm going to control click and I'm going to edit this guy in Photoshop instead. So it's going to take a second and edit. So what I'm trying to do again is darken the background a bit, but I think I'm going to need a bit more manual control over the shape of this, so we're going to try to do it in here. So if you go into the select menu at the top of the screen here, you have some similar masking areas. Okay, so selecting the subject, selecting the sky and whatnot. So in this case, I'm going to select the subject and have it use its AI to figure out what's going on there. Okay, so that's a good starting point, but now what I want to do is I'm going to go into this with this tool and select the quick selection tool to take out the shadow, okay, and refine what I want masked, okay, because I don't want the background selected. I want ideally the hand and I want the water balloon. So I've got this quick selection tool. You can see if I go over top of a dark area, you can see there's a little plus button in the middle of um, my logo. And if I want to change the size of my brush for this, I'm going to use my square brackets on my keyboard. So if I use the left square bracket, the brush size goes down lower. And if I use the right square bracket, I can bring my brush size up this way as well. Okay. Alternatively, if you can also be selecting it right here. Okay, so I can play with the hardness and the size of my brush on this slider here. Okay. Now I want to make some changes. So you can see here it didn't quite select the edge of the sleeve here. So I'm going to hit click and it will add this area to my subject mask. That looks great. Okay. Now over here, it looks like it's selected some extra things. So I want to take things away from my selection. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and you notice then that plus becomes a minus. So now I can be clicking to remove certain things, right? This whole area of the background I don't want to be in as part of my selection. So I'm going to actually remove that. Okay, now you can see you have the marching ant line here, right? There's a few more spots there that I don't want. At the bottom of my water there, you can see that the marching ants doesn't take it all, so I'm going to let go of my Option key. I'm going to draw and click to add that back in. Now I'm not super worried about getting every single water droplet in this shot. It's just the main action here, okay? Oh, it looks like when I was doing that selection, the bottom of the sleeve got kind of taken out of the selection. So I'm going to click that to get it back in. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so now my hand and the main body of the water has been selected. So now what I want to do is I want to actually affect the background, not the foreground. So I'm going to invert that mask. Okay, so invert the selection. And the way that you do that is you hold down Command, Shift, and the letter I. And now you can see that it selects everything except that subject. It just takes the reverse of what you just selected. Okay, so now with that selected, I'm going to go into my adjustments layer and I'm going to use a curves adjustment and I'm going to grab it from the bottom and I'm just going to darken it. Okay, so you can kind of play with that. Now we're going to get strong shadows regardless. So if I go too dramatic, obviously it looks super fake. Okay, so we're going to kind of play with what we're given, but just bringing it down a little bit brings that focus to the foreground a little bit. We're still going to see those strong cast shadows. It's kind of a cool effect to have those strong cast shadows anyway, so I don't want to lose them entirely. All right, so I'm going to just darken that background, and you notice that it's only affecting the background that I've selected. Okay, and you can see in the curves adjustment layer in my layers panel that it is affecting the background, but it's not affecting the water balloon is not affecting the hand. So here's what the edit looks like. Okay, just bringing that curves adjustment layer. I'm going to hide that layer just so you can see what the before looked like. Okay, there it is. And then darkening it just pops the subject forward. Okay, and so now I can take this shot. I can export the shot. I'm going to export it as a JPEG at 100% scale, and that's ready to print. Okay, so this is my water balloon edit, and you can put that into your thaw space in order to put into your Google folder and whatnot. Okay, so there you go. There's some edits that you can be doing with water balloons, both in Lightroom and in Photoshop. Give it a try.